Welcome back to the Bitter Jurors podcast. We are a queer Survivor superfan podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Derek Grining, and I am joined by two people who I would, sit in a rainstorm with as we blindside someone together and pull off epic boss girl move? Christine Palin and Sam Stanish.
Yeah, importantly, not epic girl boss move, epic boss girl move. Sue is rewriting the playbook.
Yes, game changer.
In life, I think of my relationships, there's social relationships and strategic relationships, and I definitely think of you guys as my strategic relationships.
Great, yes. Well, don't want to hold off this ticking time clock for too much longer. We're not alone. We're joined by the one, the only, the legend herself, Justine Brennan is here.
Hello.
How's it going?
Great. Most people know me from High's Twitter, but
yeah.
I surprisingly was on Survivor for a second.
Surprising to you, even.
I know. I honestly forget it happened sometimes.
And you pioneered the 90-minute episode. Your boot episode was 90 minutes long before.
Was that the first one?
I mean, that was the first
episode that was 90 minutes?
I think so, yeah. Can't think. It was very random. I don't know why they did that.
I remember that now. I was like, I remember thinking, why are they extending my suffering?
Wait, yeah. Where did you watch your boot episode at?
I watched it in the comfort of my own apartment. So I had a watch party for the first episode, obviously, with a lot of my friends. And then there were some just local Survivor contestants that came. And then there were some friends of mine that couldn't make it to my watch party. So they texted me the following week. They're like, hey, let's watch it together this week. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And
maybe next week.
Yeah. I instead just had one of my best friends come over and we watched it together. And basically we just critiqued everything everyone that was against me. We just critiqued everything they did. And you're like, can't believe they did that.
That's exactly what we did.
And then I never watched my episodes ever again until I don't know, maybe a year ago.
I love that though. I mean, I would be the same way. It's who cares what happens the rest of the season? I'm not there, so that has nothing to do with me.
I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud on this podcast. I finished watching my season, but I've watched 44, 45, 46 very sporadically, but know everything that happened in those seasons and the movements and everything in the winners. But 47, I'm committing myself to watching. And I really like it so far.
I think that's totally normal. I feel like a lot of Survivor contestants recently have not been doing this, but I feel like it was very regular for Survivor contestants to go on the show, have a traumatic experience, and then fall out of watching it for a little bit, and then eventually get back into it. But I don't think it's wrong of you to have popped in and out as you wanted to over the last year or whatever.
But it's also they didn't even give us free subscriptions to Paramount Plus.
That part.
That's wild.
Yeah, right?
It's are they assuming you just have a cable box, or is satellite TV still a thing?
I don't think so, but yeah, I don't have cable. I don't have YouTube TV. So I'm
I don't know any.
You guys care about me watching. Maybe you should have that should have been a perk, because I'm not going to spend the $40 on it.
Yeah, at least for the year after.
$50.
That is wild to me. But I also learned recently that even I would assume anyone who ever works for Disney should get a free pass to Disney World or whatever. But apparently it's just not a thing. I don't understand that. It's this is your talent pool. Maybe you should treat them a little more lavishly. I don't know, especially because you put an entire month of your life on hold just to go out there.
Yeah. The least I can do is give me a Paramount Plus membership. It reminds me of when I worked at Abercrombie in high school for 2 weeks. And they required that we wear a new outfit, obviously Abercrombie outfit that changed once a month. And I remember getting my first paycheck and it was $47. And they're like, oh, well, we just changed our outfit. Now you have to wear flannels and jeggings and you get a 10% discount. So I was like, okay, so I'm losing money by working here because that costs more than $47 that I just made.
That is wild. I know. I don't get that. It's like if we're gonna require like me to look a certain way at work, it's like
That's called a uniform.
Pay me money for
Like-
the wardrobe.
Literally, it makes no sense. Abercrombie, that's so funny. Did it smell like? Did you get used to? I feel like to me, Abercrombie, I instantly think of like walking by it in the mall and just being like assaulted by just like a scent.
Yeah.
Did you get used to that while you were working there?
Again, I only worked there for 2 weeks because that really ticked me off after I got my first paycheck and they were going to force me to spend it completely on new clothes. But yeah, you get assaulted by the smell. You have to spritz. I think it was like you spritz every hour.
What?
And I was also the girl that stood at the front of the store that greeted every single person that came in. And it was in the middle of Bay Area, like San Jose, in a mall. And the greeting I remember was like, "Hey, surf's up." And you had to see every person. And they would send like undercover managers from other locations to test and see if you're saying it. And if you weren't, you'd get in trouble.
No.
Which experience was more stressful? 2 episodes of Survivor or 2 weeks working at Abercrombie?
Honestly, Abercrombie. And they played the same, like I counted once, they played the same 6 songs on repeat.
Oh.
It was my own personal hell.
That
What
is the
were
worst.
they?
That is so. That I hate that. Like, if you're one time I went to a party and it was like a party that was like 4 hours long, and the person who was hosting the party had planned the playlist, and they were very excited about the playlist, and then the playlist was like an hour and 15 minutes. So we heard it like so many times in this like 4 hour period. It's like it's really not that hard to make a 4 to 6 hour playlist.
That's sad.
Yeah, that's just like poor planning. So wait,
Yeah,
do you remember what the songs?
Playlist. There's also a feature on Spotify now where I think you can just like allow
The
it
Smart
to,
Shuffle.
Yeah, the Smart Shuffle. That's it.
Which, as like a very like someone who's very anal about like playlists, it's like that is unacceptable to me. It's like I don't want something playing that I had no knowledge of. Like that is wild.
Unacceptable.
Justine, how did you get into Survivor? I don't think I've ever heard you talk about like applications and stuff like that.
Well, I grew up watching it from season 1 and then kind of like fell off the Survivor boat in high school and college. And then after college, and specifically in COVID, along with everyone else, I got way back into it. And I was like, I think I would be pretty good at this. And then I found out that I wasn't. But the entire like application process. So I actually like made a video. I'm trying to remember what the sequence of events was. I made a video and like started filling out an application online. And then I got reached out to by one of the casting agents from CBS for Big Brother. And I was like, oh, like, it's great to meet you, but I actually would love to be on Survivor. I'd love to be considered for Survivor. And she was like, oh, okay, well, we're going to start casting for that in like July. And I was like, great. And so they originally wanted me to be on Big Brother. I've never seen Big Brother. I've never watched it. And I also have a job. So I wanted to go on like one where there was little potential of me getting canceled. So yeah, it was like a year-long process after that where they were very much like trying to coach me. They're like, your voice is really monotone. You need to you need to like sound more excited. I'm like, I swear I'm excited. I just don't sound like it.
That's wild. Now, okay, confirming that there's like vocal coaching. That's so hilarious to me. I feel like we've had so many monotone people be on the show. So it's like,
no, it was like a big point of contention between me and casting. They're like, you just sound really monotone. And I'm like, it's not genuine to myself for me to be like, oh, like, I don't know. And like, of course I go on the show and I'm still monotone. Like, what are you guys expecting?
yeah, you're going to change your entire like vocal, like, the way you speak just for these like 26 days. Like, are you kidding me?
And it's like, you're casting me. Do you want me or not?
Oh yeah. It's like, do you want the real Justine Brennan or like this fake person? Like, no, that's not what we want.
Exactly.
So I guess another question I have now that we've had another entrant, is there truly a 17th placer group chat as Brandon Donlin put out there on Twitter? Is that true?
There is. And it's
Is it bumping?
It was bumping earlier this. Okay, so I'll spill the secrets. But it's actually a pretty hilarious group text. Because there are a lot of just like funny people in it, but also when I was added to it, the group text picture is just one of those ribbons that says participation award, that like you get in like a spelling bee in like the second grade for participating. And so I thought that was hilarious. And this week we were like, do we let the new 17th placer in?
God.
And my response was like, I don't know, our tribe of 6 here is like kind of full. And then totally joking. And then Zach was like, I think we should let them in. And so the plan was for all of us, we deleted the picture, the group text picture. We deleted the name of the group thread, which was like 17th place only. And then we renamed it, I think, like, Who Are We? And then we added TK. I don't know if I'm allowed to say any spoilers yet since we haven't gotten there, but
yeah. Everyone's seen the episode if they're listening to this.
I think Zach added TK and was like, hey, guess who this is? And like more people just like chimed in with cryptic texts, but we didn't get a response. So
ooh, TK ghosting the chat.
Wait, okay, Justine. So you say now there's 7 people in it. But who is the person from 41? It's
Sarah.
Sarah Wilson is in the chat?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sarah, Zach, me, Maddie, Jessica Chong, TK. Yeah, that's 7.
And Brandon.
Brandon Donlin.
And Brandon. Yeah.
I feel like the second placers have so much more camaraderie than the first placers, like for whatever reason, it's nice. Like I feel like people always focus on the first boots. They feel like they probably get a big ego because they're like, well, I was the first person, even though I like lost first. I'm like the star of the premiere or whatever. But you guys seem to have found community.
Yeah, because it's not our fault.
It certainly wasn't your fault.
Like, I don't know. We're likable people that were just painted to be hateable out there. And then we're okay with just being second out because now we got to say that we got second. And then people would be like, wait, you got second? And you say, no, I got second out.
I mean, there's hardly any difference. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's probably, like you said, more camaraderie there than, I don't know. Is there a winner's circle chat? Do we know about
Probably.
that?
I'm certainly not in it.
At least in the new era. Yeah, I bet the new era winners probably have one.
But I agree with you, Derek. There's certainly there's hardly a difference between getting 17th and getting added to the winner's circle.
That's what I think. I don't know. I had at my watch party this week I did a guess that second boot game with people. And so it was I printed off pictures of the most iconic moments of people and had them in envelopes. Yours was just your cast photo and then your reply to us that said I forgot I was on Survivor until I watched this clip. But no one picked your envelope. I was very upset. It ended up being Billy Garcia that was picked instead. But I feel like you're more iconic.
Yeah, I mean, I went on Survivor because I didn't have any fun facts, and now I have a fun fact.
For icebreakers?
Yeah.
2 truths and a lie.
Yeah, or I don't have any work appropriate fun facts.
Mm.
Oh. My God.
Yeah, that sounded way more inappropriate than it was.
I don't.
So,
oh my God.
Justine, this episode had a lot of people getting really funny edits, a lot of people getting clowned on by other players, clowned on by the show. How did you feel about your edit in the first, as you were watching it and as you think about it now? How do you feel about how you were portrayed, how your vote out was portrayed?
Yeah. I mean, going into the show, I knew they were going to paint me a certain way because in the casting process, my whole story, which it's not untrue, but like they were really pushing my story of like, oh, you're a girl that's like a girly girl on the surface, like you love nice clothes and like doing your hair and wearing makeup, but deep down you're a tomboy and you grew up dirt biking and like you're really close with your dad and shit like that. So that was kind of my like storyline. And so I was like, I knew going in, I was like, they're totally going to paint me as this like prissy girl from LA, which whatever, like I'll accept that. And so the whole spider montage at first that they did of me, I was like, okay, first of all, everyone was afraid of spiders out there. Jesse straight up one time said his wife is the one that kills spiders in their house because he hates spiders. But of course, they only show that stuff of me because they want to paint me like that. So it's like, I was totally fine with how my edit was. And it was validating after my boot episode. Cody called me and he was like, they really did you dirty with your edit. Like, and I just want you to know that you weren't like that around camp. And I was like, thanks. That actually means a lot. Because they kind of showed me as not helping, I don't know, build the shelter with Cody and like braiding my hair instead. And so it was all stuff that I expected, but I'm glad I at least got like the fire moment. I don't know why they kept saying like, oh, Justine is a vicious threat to my game. And then they'll like, they'll literally cut to me sitting on a log, just like twirling my hair. You guys, at least like show me doing something semi-threatening if you're going to do that.
I love that. Your mere presence is scary to these people.
I do have rusty bitch face. So
they were probably trying to I feel like that's sort of like 3D chess where they're trying to be like, they're misreading it, like she's not that threatening, but they're so afraid of her for whatever reason. And they, because like, you know, they're looking for like things where they're making mistakes or whatever, and I think that the editors knew that getting rid of you was a mistake.
Yes.
I could have, I don't know, I have like dry humor that I could have unleashed at some point. I don't know. We'll see. If I highly doubt I would ever get brought back. But next time, I'm not holding back. I'm going to be evil.
Justine for 50.
Yeah, who are you pre-gaming with for season 50?
I'm going to be evil. I'm also going to change jobs by then.
Oh.
So I'm not a salesperson.
What's like the evil version of that? Like, what's the opposite of like a...
I don't know. Like, I do interior design.
I think that would be a good villain.
Yeah.
Very few transferable skills to this game of Survivor.
Yeah. Oh, I'm in interior design now.
Survivor's just like being an interior designer. You have to pick the right people to fill your space. Like, I don't know. There's something you can always do that's so convoluted.
So that the energy flows to the end of the game.
Yeah.
My God. So what do we think about this episode at large?
I liked it. I think there are so many characters this season that are really smart, funny, like some have cringy moments. But yeah, I mean, I'm loving it so far. I love Sue. I actually am starting to really like Gabe. I love Rachel. Yeah.
Yes. I know we had a lot of like
so far.
So many like messy, conniving things happen in this episode. I feel like at the top of the episode we had Teeny. It was like Rome had the box with the apple in it, and then Teeny instantly was like showing it to, was it Keyshawn?
Keyshawn,
yeah.
That was hilarious.
I was cringing on the inside when he was walking up. I'm like, like it has to be a similar feeling to getting caught going through someone's bag. Except
even worse.
In this situation, you're proving yourself as distrustful, whereas if you get caught like looking through someone's bag, I guess you're just trustful, but you're also showing someone that you don't trust them. But yeah,
or you're
I was cringing. That was bad.
I know, especially because I feel like Teeny had such an amazing premiere, and then for this to be basically the only thing we saw of them in this whole episode, where it's just like, horrible. And then you're like, I just know that. Yeah, I can't imagine being in that situation. Like watching it, like the blood drained out of my face and my stomach like fell out of my butt. But like now it's like, oh my god, when he just walked up and he was like, "Hey guys, like what's going on?" I would have like passed out.
He just walked up and goes straight to the box and starts opening the box and kind of like. You could, I mean, I guess I would be doing the same thing, but it's just like, oh my God, this is so awkward.
I would just like bolt like a deer, I think. Just like no
Just run.
words. Just,
Where?
Like, anywhere, into the ocean, out into the forest. I don't
think
know.
they need me for a confessional.
That would be hilarious.
Just like don't explain yourself, just like run. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Teeny did all like the best that they could, I guess. But it's just like, I mean, I will say I think Rome made the best decision here though, to like go with just like sticking with the one tribal council one, to like straight up just say to like the other 5, like, you literally are not going to get me out first, so you have to find someone else here that is going to leave instead of me. I think that's smart for him, because then that gives him one guaranteed round of just like knowing he's not going home and making those inroads with people.
Yeah. And things can change so quickly from one tribal to the next. Also, speaking of Rome finding the idol or the beware advantage, but when he was going through the water basin on the first episode, I was like, that's fucking that's not hygienic.
Yeah, like, it's like, are they gonna empty that out when he's done?
Yeah, that's the drinking water. I was imagining, like, you are so disgusting out there and you smell so bad and you have sand all over and like dirt, I don't know. And if you're going full body into the drinking water, like, that's insane.
Like,
did they expect? They don't have one of those like buckets. So it's like they had to have.
They had to have known.
Yeah,
his feet were like out of the water, sticking out of the water. I was like, they must be refilling this, because I don't know. Not that they care about cleanliness out there, but that really stuck with me.
Okay, but like, and then I agree the water's getting dirty, but like it's just dirt. Like I think you're on Survivor
and sweat.
Dirt.
could be sweat. There could be I don't know, but it's also like I was terrified for him last week of the like. So I don't know if any of you have ever looked at like the side of those like big sort of like industrial buckets that like paint comes in and stuff, but they always come with these warnings of like, don't let a toddler like get near this, because they'll like fall in and like not be able to like lift themselves back up. I was like, so like, what is production's plan for if he like fully is just like in there and like drowning essentially, if his like entire like head is under the water and he's like fully vertical?
I'm sure they just let it play out. They wouldn't help him at all.
Die.
Murder.
Wait, I don't know if you guys saw, NECA posted this reel that I think her daughter made when our season aired, and it was like the background sound was like, help me, like someone screaming for help, and it was just like, and it pans to just the Survivor cameramen, and they're just like standing there with a camera, like eating a Snickers, like listening and watching, not doing anything. And I was like, that is the most accurate thing I've ever seen. So they probably would just sit there and watch.
Like, ooh, let's see how this plays out. It's like,
until it becomes a medical emergency, they will not step in.
Yeah.
well, Jeff isn't there to like editorialize it of like, wow, Rome, what does this say about Survivor that you almost like
They would have
well?
pulled him in.
Yeah.
They would have like gone on the walkie-talkie, like, Jeff, get over here, like a Boston Rob heroes versus villain passing out moment.
Which, okay, so speaking of that, Justine, maybe you can speak to this if they ever asked you to like do this, but I did see someone, I think it was Drop Your Buffs, like pointed out that, so Rachel, when she was like putting the rice in her pocket, this like when they showed that, it was fully not her doing it. They had, I think, someone maybe from the Dream Team like reenact it, because it was like not the same shirt, not the same like shorts at all. So it's like, and I know this was related to like Boston Rob when he fainted on Heroes Villains. They had him, or they had Jerry reenact like finding him or something. Did you ever have them like say, "Can you redo this for us?" to you, Justine, at all?
The only times I remember them doing that were if we found, so like when Dwight left on that adventure and then came back and found out that he lost his vote, he had to like go get the paper from our like mail that said like, I lost my vote. And so when we had to read things like that, they would have us read it and reread it multiple times. and like you're reading it to the group, and like I'm not a great actor, so like I hear it the first time and I'm like, oh, okay, and then you hear it a second time and you're like, oh. You're like, I don't know how I'm supposed to. So like they would have us reread stuff like that, but I didn't experience them being like, oh, can you like go fill up your water again? I don't know, but I did notice that. So it's actually funny you said that, because when they were showing the shorts, I remember them being like a different color yellow than what she actually was wearing, and the pockets were like on the side rather than on her butt.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it was
The pockets were gigantic. In the close-up, they were like made for this.
Yeah, who's got the rice carrying shorts?
That was hilarious, though. It was very cheeky of her.
I know. I'm
I
still
can't
annoyed
believe
that
they
they
didn't let
called
this
it.
Jeff is such a loser.
I know. I wish they did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's like, what is stopping the other two from like looking over and seeing her? If it was that obvious, like then they should be like shoving rice wherever they can. I don't know. It was silly.
Yeah.
You can't give rice to a show about surviving and then not let this go through. Like, I guess from now on they'll probably use sand or whatever, but it's like, why are you using food in the first place?
Right.
Yeah, I don't get it. Also, I mean, the technique of the cutting was also really alarming from the contestants. The like stabbing was so
That
scary.
seems so dangerous.
It was giving Psycho.
Well, I think didn't Jeff say like watch your hands at one
He
point?
said it to like Andy, like as Andy started, because he had his hand like on
was
the
like-
bag, and it was like that game with a pen, like where you could do that, and he's like doing that with a knife.
That was very unnerving.
I feel like the most efficient way is just like shove it in and like drag it, right?
Which I think Sam did that, because I caught on to that too, and I was like, I don't like the way that they're stabbing this bag repeatedly. And then I finally noticed, I think it was Sam, that he like just drug it across. It's like, okay, thank God.
You gotta
Someone
fillet
who's
it.
used a knife before.
Well, he's also an experienced actor, as we found out. Speaking of good acting skills.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the biggest like laugh at the watch party was Sam's like face with Andy after he's like, I was in musical theater, not because I can sing, but because I'm a great actor. Oh, that was so good. He's like giving. He was like, I don't know. He just seems very goofy. I feel like I was scared he was going to be like boring, like good at Survivor guy, but he is like cracking me up a lot in this episode.
Yeah. And he's doing well at winning everyone over on his tribe.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy. It's like him and Sierra are like a thing, I guess. Is it next time on that they were like,
Annika's like, you two.
Yeah.
what's going on there?
Yeah. I'm very curious, because obviously that puts a very big target on their backs. But I do love that on that tribe there was like a girl, I don't know, the girls all gravitated to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It was powerful.
Yeah.
They're moving in sync.
Sam's like telling Sierra like, I want to play the idol on Andy was very interesting, because he's like saying that because he's like basically like, I want to break up your other alliance, but like if he's working with Sierra and Andy, that's three, but like they don't need, like it's not really mapping, like they would have the votes there. That was like, I think it was Sam had played all of this really well in terms of like how he like immediately went and told like Rachel about the advantage as soon as he knew there was a chance to fight out anyway. And then for that to be the note it ended on, it was very odd. And like, I mean, the way it was edited, it seemed like almost instantly he had that idea. So like, hopefully he walks that back, but it just seemed like, okay, you're telling this person you're working with, I'm going to blow up your other options and kind of get the credit for it.
Just so you know.
Yeah. I don't know if he was saying that to kind of like pressure test Sierra and see what side she was on.
Toxic. So much toxic boyfriend energy going around.
Seriously.
Okay, yeah, what was that? I felt like that was unfair.
Annika's mean.
That was mean, and Andy was not giving toxic, clingy boyfriend at all. Okay, the part of this episode where he started chopping a coconut and they were cheering for him was the worst moment I've ever seen on the show. Like, if I was in Andy's position with them cheering, now that I've publicly had a meltdown about them not cheering for me, I would be like, you need to stop. Like, now I know it's just out of pity. Like, I was like seizing up during that part.
Yeah, that was so painful to watch.
Well, I think someone even referenced it at the challenge. They were like, "Chop it like a coconut, Andy."
Yeah, I did he catch on that? I think he was honestly just like stoked that they were actually cheering for him, though. It didn't seem like he was
That's how
like
it seems.
quiet.
Yeah, I mean,
Which made it worse.
yeah, it's like
Harder to watch.
It was so
But yeah,
patronizing.
like I mean, having gone through this whole thing, comments that people say in confessionals about you, like that when you're just watching it as a viewer on TV, you're just like, oh, this is funny TV, but like those can cut pretty deep, and it's like, oh.
I know. I mean, especially like I feel like after the show, I feel like people are like buddy more so, and then it's like, oh, actually, I said something really like not cool about you. Sorry about that.
Jesse called me annoying, and going into my episode where he said that, he was just like, don't forget, I love you. And I was like, what the fuck did you say? And then it was like, oh, Justine's kind of annoying. And I was like, okay, really? It takes a lot more than that to offend me, but thank you.
Yeah.
I am annoying.
Annoying and proud. I love that. So we had Rome, and like, who was causing all the drama? TK. I feel like we're kind of burying the lead with the TK of it all this episode.
Yeah.
That was kind of wild. Like, do we want to, that whole scene of the like, I don't know, where he like basically accused everyone else on the tribe of being like okay with losing was wild.
That was wild. Well, but they also just don't show during that challenge. It's not like there was any one person on their tribe that wasn't pulling their weight. It seemed like he was just like mad at the tribe. I don't know. But also, I don't know how he felt he was like in the leader position to be having that standpoint against them. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot they didn't show in the edit that would explain these things.
Yeah. Well, he was like trying to throw, was it Sue under the bus that he was like really honed in on, but she wasn't even part of the challenge. So I always find that kind of like cringy when people do that. Obviously that's like, there's game stuff going on there, but it's like, I think that's kind of weird to be like, they were no help. It's like, well, they just weren't there. So
yeah.
And I'm sorry. Good in the challenges last week.
Yeah, she ate the opening challenge. Like there's a lot of emphasis on how well she did, and that all with the conversation about Sue felt very much like she's old. I like it like that felt like the only explanation behind that, unless there was something in the challenge just last week we didn't see where she messed up, but from what we saw, it seems like she ate.
It's total age bias, and every time I see Sue on screen, she's fucking ripped. So I'm like, I'm sorry, there's no way that this woman is just like not doing anything. She is the most person out there.
But the person who took the most offense from the like TK's thing was Tiana, where because she said something about like there's too many people smiling over here, which because I think Jeff said like you guys are going to tribal and you're smiling. Anyway, like TK, someone was talking about this on Twitter. Like TK is like coming at this from the perspective of like a lifelong athlete or whatever, like a lifelong team sport person. And so like this is the kind of energy of like people who are losing in like in D1 athletics or professional sports or varsity, whatever, like people doing very serious like team sports together. Like we can't accept this. Like we're losing, but we like have the energy of winners or whatever. And TK feels like he's the leader because he has this athletic experience, but he's not like acclimating himself to the energy of the people he's with, which is what the Game of Survivor requires, where he's like, I'm the leader, but it's like, you don't want to be the leader. And you're also not leading anybody if nobody else is on the same page as you, which I think is very interesting. I feel like this is a character on Survivor who we haven't seen in a long time. I feel like him and Kyle are like dropped out of 2007, which is fun, but it's not. He's like, I'm playing chess, not checkers. But it's like if everybody around you is playing checkers, you should learn checkers.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like that's always the death knell when someone says that about their own game. It's like, I don't think that's great that you are fully playing a separate game from everyone else. Like it just means, like you said, Sam, you're just like gonna lose, I assume. And he did.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
It's crazy. Just, I don't know. in his position thinking that you have like a total hand on the game and you know what direction it's going to go in, just to find out that people were talking behind your back, because it's fucking hard. You have no idea what people are saying. All you know is what people are telling you out there.
Yeah, there's definitely like I don't know, this seems kind of traumatic, I guess, especially if he has like a Kyle who I assume was just like fully left out of all these conversations as well. So then it's like, you've got someone else who you're like is your sounding board, and so like they are feeding into your not delusion, but they're just like they also are on the same page as you. So then it's like when the rest of the people there are like have fully snowed you, I feel like that's even worse, because then it's like, what? I was talking with this other person who was like confirming everything I was hearing.
Yeah.
So I get that that's probably tough as hell.
Kyle is totally out of old Survivor. I don't know what it is about him, but he is so old era Survivor. Also his face when TK gets voted out, just like the shock and surprise on his face, because it's like not just did like your strongest ally get voted out, but now you're at the bottom of your entire tribe because you weren't let into this.
I haven't seen someone not surprised since Andy told Sam that the women found the idol.
That what?
I haven't seen someone not surprised since Andy told Sam that the women found the idol.
That was so funny.
Yeah, but Kyle's whole like preseason press was all about, I mean, he was very aware. He's like, I want to be like an old school player in the new era. And in this episode, he says like, you know, relationships like number one. He like wants like people he can trust, but like this episode kind of like put that to the test, because you can have like what you feel like good relationships with people on a personal level in the new era, but people are still gaming very hard, and like both of those things can be true. And it feels like that's kind of like what Kyle ended up. It's exactly like the quandary of trying to play an old school game in the new era, of like feeling, okay, I feel good with these people, like socially this is all working, but that doesn't translate to the moves they make will like include you or be good for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see how he like handles this, because this is like a huge early setback, and it took enough time for him to try to like recalibrate what he's doing. But it could also like be really hard to recover from if like he came in so strongly, like believing he could play a certain type of game that might not be possible in the context of Survivor now.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
it's also crazy.
Like you go.
Oh, I was just going to say something really quick, but it's also crazy just seeing the different tribe dynamics in the season where I'm forgetting the yellow tribe's name, but voting out John, they're like deciding between him and Andy. They're like, we should probably keep Andy for strength. Like John has mental power, but Andy's going to be more mentally strong. With TK, it like wasn't even a question. Like he just kind of, it seemed like he just rubbed some people the wrong way, and they didn't even stop to consider like, well, he's a really strong, like brute force asset on our tribe. Maybe we should consider keeping him. It was just like, nope, we're voting him.
Yeah.
It's just different for every tribe.
Which I would love to see a swap to like see how those like dynamics play against each other, if like everyone or if these tribes have very different ways of looking at the game. Which again sucks for Kyle, because it's like he can only assume that like there's not going to be a swap, because that's just kind of like the new era sort of vibe. So it's like if you get left out of like one vote, that probably is so demoralizing.
Yeah. But did you see his secret scene this week where he like he's been a vegetarian for like the past 10 years and hadn't eaten meat, or like he said, I haven't hurt a living being in like so long or whatever. And this week they didn't put it on the show, but they released a scene where he like ate part of a crab, and it was beautiful. It's like 2 minutes long. It's a great scene. But it was very like it really showed you who this guy is, and was just like he's just so not what Survivor like looks for anymore, which is really refreshing.
Wait, who? I haven't seen the deleted scene. Who hasn't eaten meat? And
Kyle.
Oh, Kyle. Okay.
I know. I need to still watch that. That is so sad, because I'm pretty sure he only has like one confessional each episode, which is like what the
More than Genevieve.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't seen anything from like Genevieve, Saul, like that tribe, honestly.
Yeah, because like they only had that once, like at least as I can remember. Like they only have like 1 or 2 scenes this episode, and it's all in the first like 20 minutes. Like they're nowhere.
Yeah.
I wonder who's going to tribal. I mean, I don't know. They've done that before, where it was like they had nothing going in, and then it was like all the scenes were like post immunity. I feel like that happened kind of recently. I don't know.
I think that was like Janine on my season. I feel like she didn't get much until later.
I know, which is sad. Let us hear from people. I don't know. Like, there's only 18. Like, I just feel like that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Sam had 16 confessionals this episode. They simply didn't have room to let anyone else speak.
Oh my god.
Is that a record? That's like wild.
I feel like the 90-minute episodes we've seen some like that up that high.
The Survivor fact checker put out like the list of like highest number of confessionals in an episode, highest number per hour, because now we do 90 minutes and like versus like a finale, whatever. And it's all this kind of stuff. And it's all, of course, it's always men who are on these things. Like the top 20 most confessionals is like it was like 17 men and 3 women or whatever. And like, and obviously I agree there's like a bias in Survivor, blah, blah, blah. Like, I do think it's probably, and I haven't like checked this, but I think it's probably something where like he has like a 1-sentence confessional, then someone else has a 1-sentence confessional, and then he has another confessional or whatever. So it's not like, which is like, I feel like that's the only way this could have happened, but I don't know. But I was surprised because watching the episode now, I just didn't really feel like he was that ever present in the episode, but he is like tied for 2nd place now or something.
I know. I think it was purely that like all the idol shenanigans was like all from Sam's perspective. Yeah, it's kind of wild. I don't know, the idol stuff, I hope it goes away soon. Like I feel like these first 2 episodes there's been a lot of idol like buffoonery going on, but I feel like now that Rome's got his, Gabe has his, and now like
Gabe played his, so they might rehide it.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. Okay, so Gabe playing his idol. I feel like when it happened, I was like, this is silly. Like, why did you do that? It made more sense to me once people were like, well, then he's immune from rocks, and that puts more pressure on Tiana. But I'm like, I don't know. That kind of feels like.
But no one was targeting Gabe.
I know. That's just like I don't get it.
I think it was literally just for the rock draw. Like, I think he wasn't sure Tiana was with him, but like, if he does that and he's immune from rocks, then it's like, excuse me, his allies are more likely to flip. Sorry.
Yeah. I know. Because it like puts everyone else in like a worse position in terms of like because the odds are worse. But I guess that like but yeah, I just feel like that's maybe too forward thinking, or like I feel like it was more so just a like reaction to Survivor 46, because I'm pretty sure they had seen
had seen up until like Tiffany's boot,
right? So they saw Hunter and Tiffany go out back to back with idols, so it's like I'm sure if I'm out there with an idol, I'm just throwing that out there instantaneously regardless of whether I actually think it's me or not.
And on top of that, the beware advantages have been so messy. Like everyone knows who, like everyone has it. Like no one is keeping it to themselves.
I don't think anyone who has found a beware advantage, at least for like pre-merge, has like, I don't think any of the winners have. I feel like Marianne was the only person to like personally own an idol, right? Of the winners.
I think so, but I'm not.
That sounds right.
Which is like, so it's like, just don't touch them.
Yeah. I think that the idol play specifically this week, and like, I think it's a lot of things, and I do think it all tracks and makes sense. Like one, like Justine saying before, like this is the first vote of their entire tribe. Like he has no idea what is the truth, and he has nothing to base it off of. So I think that like playing an idol on yourself the first week, like that makes complete sense. It's like I'm giving myself the assurance that like no matter what was said, like I'm not going home. I have nothing else to base it off of except for everybody else's words, which is like you have nothing basically. And to the protection of the rock draw part, like yes, it would increase Caroline's chances of pulling the rock, because prior to the idol play, if they did go to rocks, it's like the 4 of them have 25% chances of getting picked or whatever, and now it would choose like 1/3 chance of picking the rocks. But when you're going to a rock draw, I feel like the mentality is about like whose side is going to win out, and this gives their side like such a stronger chance of like winning the rock draw.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a shock. I feel like I don't think he even mentioned like I'm gonna play my idol tonight at all in confessionals. So I was just like, oh.
Well, I thought he was gonna play it for Sue. Like I thought he
I
said,
was just gonna say that.
I'll play
Yeah.
it for you.
So it's like, okay, so you don't support women when it comes down to the wire. Okay, got it.
He did mention it to her.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, what's her reaction? I'm sure there were conversations we missed where it was like maybe they decided it would make more sense for him to play it for himself. I don't know. It was just an interesting little like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening moment. Yeah. But TK going sucks. I mean, karma from pushing Aisha, I feel like, right? That's how I'm feeling.
Aisha karma.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Caroline? She's so funny to me. She's such a weird woman.
I love how
like,
skeptical she is.
Yeah. She's like, I love that she like said that to his face. She's like, I'm not feeling this.
I loved that.
It wasn't giving, and she needed to let him know that. I love that for her. And I'm pretty sure she went to the same. Okay, so I got this like tea, I guess, from like the drag queen I hosted co-hosted with this week at the watch party. She like went to like the same business school that Xander did. And apparently that's like someone they like draw from. Like that's like there have been multiple people who've gone to Booth, is what it's like the Booth Business School. And Caroline is like from Chicago, so now I'm like, maybe she's part of that lineage of people because she mentioned she went to business school.
Are you saying Masha Potato went to business school with Caroline and Xander?
Not with them, but like went to the same school.
Okay.
Yes.
Masha Potato.
Yes, that was my drag queen co-host. Who, yeah, that's her Christian.
Oh, you know, she played a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, you don't remember Masha Potato?
It's like, never heard of her.
She's in the group chat with you. That's so shady.
Guess who we are?
So that's I was trying to connect all the Chicago dots this week. But yeah, I would love to hear more from Caroline. She seems fun. This is just a fun cast in general. I feel like, especially Merge, I'm very excited to see all these people interact with each other. I think it's going to be like kooky.
Yeah, I feel like the potential of getting messy is pretty high, which I'm excited about.
We just need them to do it on social media too, like last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. We need the tweets. Yeah.
Well, Gabe already pulled a Q and made his Cameo account already because you're not supposed to make them until post-season, and Q made his in the middle of the season, and I think and then Venus made one, and Gabe on Wednesday or Thursday made his Cameo. So
yeah,
maybe that's
you're
a
like
sign.
NBA what?
Not the Gabios.
NBA too?
Yeah. Did you ever get hounded, Justine, by higher ups? No, you were
a follower.
I feel like your cast was pretty well behaved. It was really 44.
Yeah, we were very well behaved. Like I was skeptical. I remember I went over to Jessie was in LA and we met up and went to Abby Maria's house because she lives like 15 minutes away from me. Queen. And this is before our season aired. And we were like, oh my God, she was like showing us the bracelet and everything. And we got a picture with her and the bracelet. And then I think Abby followed us on Instagram, and I think we were like kind of skeptical of like, oh, can we follow them back yet? Like we were very careful about what we did. But I remember the second each person would get voted out, like we would immediately follow each other on Instagram. So our cast was really good. I mean, I didn't have any drama, I don't think, afterwards with anyone.
Yeah, I think it was more fans versus people on the show drama for your season.
There's a little bit of finale night tea, but that got deleted.
I didn't make it to my own finale because I was so hungover. And Lindsay was calling me. She was like, Justine, you are going to regret this for the rest of your life. And I was like, I don't understand. I literally am barfing and can't move. So.
Oh my God, wait, yeah. What, can you give us some information on what your pre-merge Ponderosa was like? It was you and Lindsay and all, like what all did you guys get up to?
What a crew.
So fun. It was like a sorority house plus, well, no, Gio definitely played into the sorority house of it. It was like a sorority house plus Dwight. But Dwight was only there with us for, I think, like 24 hours, not even like super long time. But it was honestly so fun because it was just a bunch of girls and Geo. And every night we would pull out the karaoke machine and we'd be singing like Tina Turner. We would honestly get pretty drunk. Like they didn't limit us on drinks. Except for Mariah. Mariah doesn't drink, but she was downing like Shirley Temples.
Queen.
Me.
Lindsay. So we made friends with all of the workers at Ponderosa, the locals there. And there was this one like 16-year-old that Lindsay and we were just like, how do we get a cigarette around here? And so 16-year-olds like asking production. They were like, oh yeah, sure. Basically they smuggled in cigarettes for Lindsay and I. So
yes.
Lindsay, the nurse, and I were just like outside smoking stogies, like drinking free drinks, someone singing Tina Turner on the mic, like Geo's doing a fashion show around the pool. It was fun. Like I had the time of my life.
That sounds incredible.
Sounds like
you wake up in a massage.
Oh my God. That sounds, yeah.
It was quite nice.
I mean, we need pre-merge Ponderosa videos, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And we took so many pictures and so many videos. And I think that CBS just like hating my cast the way that they did, they just never sent us any of the footage.
Punishment.
You weren't even involved.
For season 44, they had so many pictures from Ponderosa that they all posted. And they got them like within days of us getting ours too. Like they did not like us.
Was 43 the one where they forgot to put up the cast photos too?
Yes.
We were invisible on their website. I was like, was this all a fever dream?
Oh,
did I actually play Survivor?
Yeah.
The lost
CBS forgot about it until right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so funny. I forgot that happened. No.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Shady production.
Well, then, yeah, like, what do we think that TK and John are getting up to?
I mean, they're probably eating chicken wings. They're laying by the pool. They're probably, I don't know. It's probably different for those two. With me and Mariah, when it was just me and Mariah, we were just having a lovely time. And like I was helping Mariah learn how to swim. Like it was honestly therapeutic, but I would imagine for people like John and TK, they're probably like, especially if you're blindsided like that, and you hate losing, you're probably not very happy.
Yeah. Ooh, the vibes. Yeah, that's wild. And well, speaking of those, it's like this is the first time two men have gone out since like Kagean.
Long time.
Which is so wild to me that it's taken that long. Like, come on, we got to step this up. We got to balance out the 43 of it. Like, let's have a whole pre-merge of dudes.
I know. It goes to show just how different the dynamics are with every season and with every tribe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's like even Blue, where it's like the women were not instantly linking up, but it was like they noticed the guys were instantly linking up, and that was enough to like cause concern. And I love that. Let's do that every season. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it just shows that it's like kind of all luck. Like I just feel like it just depends on who you're there with. Like TK could have been completely fine in like a huge proportion of Survivor tribes that have existed, but like because of who he was with in like certain circumstances, he was the first person voted up.
I know.
Yeah, if he were on a different tribe, like I would imagine, I don't know, if he was on Sam's tribe or like someone else who is just a guy that you would look at and be like, okay, they're a strong asset to the tribe. Like it probably would have been different because they would have been more like-minded, but depends on what tribe you're on. I probably wouldn't have been targeted for being a salesperson if I was on a tribe that didn't have another salesperson on it.
Oh my God, that was wild. I know. Well,
you should have told everyone you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
That would have worked out.
Or an undercover cop.
Yeah. All great options.
Oh my God.
A volunteer cop.
Like what? Like that's what you were doing at the front of Abercrombie. You were like keeping an eye out.
Yeah.
No one's stealing.
You're a mall cop.
The door woman.
No more jeggings are getting out of the store without my watch. That's so funny. Okay, well, who do we think is like in danger now on each of the tribes?
Saul. Even though Teeny and Kashan are the ones caught, like they just now know that they won't be able to get Rome. So I just feel like they're just gonna link up anyway and get out Saul instead.
And clearly everyone's forgotten Genevieve exists, so I think she's safe from about because they don't even know that her name is available to write down.
That would be so funny. Can she just like not show up to tribal and like no one would like where? I know. Yeah, I feel for Saul it seems scary. I feel like Kyle's like the obvious person on blue, but I don't.
Yeah.
That might be a good thing for him, honestly, of like, he can just play up like, I had no idea what was going on, like, just use me for a vote. I feel like that could be something he could use for his benefit. And then on yellow, it's like, Andy, again, seems very obvious, but it's like, the fact that he's had now like another round to sort of like, just be there, that could be good for him.
Yeah, but Andy's also looking for like a place to call home with these people. So if they... For example, if Sam and Sierra are kind of developing into this romance thing, Andy is a great person for the other two girls to bring in and be like, we need to get rid of this. Which, because I feel like they always make it seem super obvious of who's going to get voted out, like Andy, Kyle, like who's at the bottom of the tribe. But then something always happens and it's not what you expect.
Yeah, I feel like Sam is definitely starting to rub up against Annika. Like it doesn't seem like he wants Annika around and like doesn't enjoy like want her in the game long term. Just like he was frustrated that he found the idol with her or whatever, and we've already seen in next episode that they're like they showed it in the preview for next week, and they've already released a commercial where they're like going against each other. Sam and her had some conversation about like project management or whatever during the tribal council they went to. So like I really think that Annika is more in danger than like Andy, because it feels like Sam is the one calling the shots and he seems to like Andy.
Yeah.
I know. They better protect our girl. We need more like
Annika post on Instagram somewhat recently, this like montage of her because someone told her that she has resting smart face. And going into this episode, I was watching that. I was like, oh my God, she literally has resting smart face. She's just like, you can see the gears just like moving in her head.
That's I mean, that's scary for her. I hope she can keep powering through. We need more like nasty confessionals. I love that.
Yes.
That's the best.
Don't want to be on the victim side of it, but I love watching it.
I mean, come on. Like, if she said something like that about me, I would be like, work. Like, get me together. You better show me, Annika. Oh my gosh. No, any other thoughts on the episode at large? Anything in particular that you guys want to point out?
I feel like the biggest conversation in this episode, or like in the season so far, is like, well, obviously we know this season is all about community, but I feel like they're now working to include in that conversation like strategic relationships versus social relationships and like how those things combine. And I think Tiana's conflict in this episode was around like she had this really good strategic relationship with TK, but she ultimately went with who was like making her feel more like socially involved and like more comfortable moving forward and like more like a community or whatever. And I'm excited to see how this season thinks that is good or bad. Like if they will ultimately feel like she should have stuck with TK, or if like she made the right call by like going with her gut and like choosing somebody who was not throwing her under the bus to Jeff.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how they do in the challenges that end up requiring strength.
I know,
Sue's gonna carry.
Yeah, she's Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah.
I know, that's a concern, especially with seemingly no swap in sight. So it's like that was a bold call, but I feel like that's only good for like Gabe and Sue and Caroline, like that three. Like that's kind of perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious as to what's going to happen with Gabe, because Caroline was never like super in with that, and I'm curious to see how like his idol play will play to everyone else of like it's kind of reinforcing, oh, he's a big player, he was doing all this, he found an idol, he was, you know. I'm curious if that's going to like hurt his, because Caroline could still bail on them. Like Caroline could be in a swing position potentially if she like doesn't feel good with Gabe. So I'm curious to see how she reacts to that, because she was so hesitant to work with him at all. And the one thing was like him showing her his idol. So I'm curious, will that like him playing it and being out of his pocket, like will that help him in the long term in terms of, okay, we know he's played it, it's gone. I mean, I think it's going to be rehidden. And like how that play like damages or doesn't damage his relationships with Sue and Caroline. Because if it was to protect from a rock draw, like he really left like Caroline like high and dry, because she would have just been, her odds would have increased of drawing a rock potentially. You know, I'm curious his explanation, like why he played it. Was it because he thought he was getting votes? Was it just because of rock draw, and how that plays out? So I think he could be fine, but I do think there's a universe where he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Especially because everyone's like, yep, Gabe is shady, like outright saying that to Jeff. Like that's never a good thing. I don't think, a hot take, that's not a good thing to be called on Survivor. I agree with all those.
The Gabe thing is interesting, especially with Caroline. Like it feels like the only reason she started working with him or like trusting him was because he showed her the idol, but now he doesn't have that. And I think that she's like reading him correctly, because he's in the confessional talking about her as like a broken little bird or something. Much
that
like,
was
like I feel like
wild.
it was like Russell talking about his like dumbass girls alliance, like, but instead it's like my tiny baby birds. It's just
like he genuinely does want to work with them, but he doesn't like, not because he respects them as players. So I think like Caroline's read, you said Sam's actually pretty correct. It's like not like out of I want to work with you because I see you as like an equal alliance partner. It's like I want to work with you because you're here, and I think like I can pull you in.
And it's the same thing he did with Sue, kind of, where he like it seemed very, very early in the game. And he was just like, I knew the moment I saw you, I wanted to work with the older woman on the show or whatever, which is relatable, but it feels like it's probably from like people won't expect it and people will respect me more than you.
Yeah. If I'm Sue, I'm going like, well, where is she? Like, where's the older woman that you want to work with? I know, that is wild. It's very, I mean, not to like paint Gabe in a certain light, because I don't think he is as a person is this way, but it does like read as condescending to refer to like, especially like if three of the 6 people are wounded birds, I don't think that makes them wounded birds. Sounds like there's like 3 people that like are kind of in a great position because people want their votes. So it just, I bet it's all from his perspective. So I get it. And I am very curious to see if he survives, because he's doing a lot in the first 5 days of the game.
He's doing a good job at hiding his relationship with Sue and with Caroline, obviously, because that tribal, when TK was like telling Sue, he was like, tell me if anyone here has had more than one conversation with Sue.
That was wild.
Yeah. And I was like, I mean, that also just goes to show how little you know what's actually going on when you're all on the same island. Because like, clearly, I think him and maybe Kyle are the only ones that hadn't talked to Sue. But I felt for Sue in that moment. I was like, I want to talk to Sue.
Yeah.
Right. Like, why wasn't he talking to Sue? Like, why wasn't he having conversations with her?
I know. And
it's like probably an age bias thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you automatically like label some people sometimes. You're like, oh, like they're not going to be as strong as others, and you probably like don't invest in getting to know them. Yeah,
it was very. Speaking of condescending, like to be like, Sue, this is how you're supposed to play Survivor. Like to her face was, ooh, that was a lot. Like,
but it was great because he was like, the game of Survivor is about having long conversations and important conversations with the right person, and all the while knowing that she was on the right side of the vote is sort of like she got the last laugh.
That is Survivor.
That's Survivor, baby. I know. Yeah, Gabe's little like magic trick voting confessional was interesting. A little too long. We could have edited there.
It was random, but I feel like I've been enjoying him enough that he can have a weird voting confessional and still have a good episode.
Yes, we'll let him have that. That's okay. Yeah. Well, any other thoughts? Do you want to plug and then get into the Edgic winners edit of it all? Does that sound good?
Sure.
Justine, where can the good people find you on the internet?
I am very private on Instagram. I used to exist on Twitter when Hai was on Twitter, but since he deactivated, I've kind of just disappeared into the abyss. I don't know. I'm not present really on social media. I mean,
That's okay.
I'll come out from under my rock once a year and tweet something. But that's pretty much it.
Powerful. Anything you want to direct people to in real life? Like, go support this, do this. It could be anything.
I need to think about that.
Okay. Well, you do that. Justine, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on. Sorry,
I also don't exist. So no, I'm kidding.
None of us are anywhere. This is all just, we're sort of ghosts.
I'm honestly a figment of Hai's imagination.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Same.
Literally, no, side note, I actually went to, did I tell you guys that I went to a Survivor 44 party and they recognized me from Hai's Twitter? Did I already say that?
No.
Solely from his Twitter, not
so
like...
I went to the Survivor 44 finale party in LA, and this one kid comes up to me, and I think he was a UCLA kid. And he's like, "Oh my God, Justine, can I get a picture with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And he's like, "I recognize you from Hai's Twitter." I was like, "Great.
Yay.
Perfect."
You've made it. That's when you've truly made it.
I know. I honestly, and then I thought about it. I was like, I'd rather be known from that than
2 episodes of Survivor.
That's totally fair.
Well, I'm in Marina Del Rey, so people can find me bouncing around here. I go to F45 a lot. I don't know.
Period. So just keep it a lookout for Justine on the street.
Find Justine in the streets.
I've gotten recognized a whole 2 different times, so
Period.
I'm kind of hard to spot. I think probably just keep your eyes peeled.
Just look out for the nearest Abercrombie. Those are still a thing, right?
You smell them before you can see them.
Yes.
Yes, you can smell me from a mile away.
Ooh, mall. Okay. Christine, where can the good people
You
find you?
can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Xteen Files. You can read my writing on Inside Survivor. Gia Worthy and I do our weekly catch up of each episode. That's it. Sorry, I'm still so sick.
No.
Hopefully next week I won't be sick. I have been sick for 12 days. I was sick with a cold for the first week, and then it turned into a sinus infection.
No.
That recently happened to me too. That sucks.
It's awful. It's awful. So yeah, hopefully next week I will be more in it. But I had fun anyway.
Send healing pads and heating pads to Christine. Have you been doing that?
I have no, it's better now. I got antibiotics, so she's clearing out, but my throat, I have that awful cough.
No, I hate that.
I can't be in public right now.
Yeah. Sam, what about you? Where can people find you?
Just go to our Patreon, patreon.com/bitterjurorspod. We are doing social media shows this season. Already have a couple things in our chamber to discuss when we talk next week, but we released an episode this past week talking about the Survivor social media that happened following the premiere. And yeah, it was good. We had a good time.
Sam gave it the best name, which is Touch Sand instead of Touch Grass. Incredible. Yes, listen to that. Patronize us on Patreon. Follow me at Ray Dirks on Twitter. Follow us, Bitterchers Pod, Twitter, Instagram. Come to my watch parties at Pizza Lobo Andersonville if you're in Chicago. Come see me and drag queen. It changes weekly now. Now that Shut Up is doing improv classes during the season, but next season it'll be me and Shut Up. But yeah, come see us there and have fun with us. You can win a buff and get pizza and have a Jeff Probst shot, which are amazing and really spicy.
what's a Jeff Probst
It's
shot?
like spiced tequila and like something else, but it's like it goes down smooth, but it's very like the aftertaste is like really spicy. It's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, do that. So shall we talk about who we think is getting the winner's edit on Survivor 47?
Do you guys have
know
the chart pulled up thing? Who puts that
we
together?
don't really do the charts. We just do vibes.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
See, what were your? Do you remember what yours were, Justine?
This wasn't a.
I was absolutely at the bottom. That's all I remember. I think Jesse was an Edgic winner's pick from earlier. I think it was him and Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It was.
So we really know what we're talking about.
Yeah. You were Justine. You were UTR 2 on episode 1, and then you were middle of the road -3 on episode 2.
Iconic.
Perfect.
I was like, I didn't even see mine as negative. I thought it was just silly.
Yeah, you were just a girl. It's okay.
It was just being silly and relatable.
Yeah. But Christine, what were you saying about?
I was gonna say this wasn't a great episode for Kyle, obviously, but I one of the things people always look out for are when things are randomly subtitled, when you can still kind of hear what they say. And I can't remember exactly what Kyle said that was subtitled, but it was something along the lines of like winning and with like strong relationships. I can't remember that, but that was just something that kind of jumped out at me. Like as one thing, like who knows? There have been times people have cut on these like this thing was subtitled and it never matters. But that was like the one, like I guess more traditional Edgic clue this episode I found interesting.
I think that if you watched the scene they decided not to put in the episode, you would say that Kyle cannot win the season. Like the scene with the crab is literally like, you are out here for your family and you are winning the game for your family. It's like all about like his whole winner story. And I think not including it is probably not good for him.
I'm out on the whole, like, just because it wasn't included means you can write them off, because like if people last longer into the season, there's more opportunities for these sort of emotional moments shown. I don't think it's like, I'm not like, it's obviously not a plus that was cut, but like I think, and like obviously with these episodes getting longer, it's more of, could potentially be more of like a red flag. But in general, like they like, that's the kind of stuff when it gets cut, they get cut. I think it's worse when it's like a strategic moment or like a game, some like a gameplay conversation that gets cut and put in a secret scene. I don't know. Like, but like, because people are, if you're making it to the end, there's more episodes for you to include your story. Like Erica, we didn't learn who she was until like midway through the season. And like Kenzie didn't get, like Kenzie had some great, Gabler and the Kenzie had some good stuff early on, but like we didn't get like more of her like emotional backstory until later into the merge. So I was being
very Survivor traditionalist. That you're right. It could, anything could happen.
Get him together.
Get together. But you're not the best episode for Teeny. I
kind of liked it because it was just like
I didn't hate it.
Like it was like the story. Like obviously it was bad in the moment of like, oh my gosh, Teeny got caught saying like doing this, but it was like presented in terms of like, oh, like Teeny's gonna use their social game to get out of it, and like this show doesn't like contradict that at all. So I thought that was great for Teeny.
It wasn't amazing, but it could have. Like I think the things we need to look at again are like when things are like bad for them, could it have been played a lot? The same thing with Kenzie season, like when she's like involved in the idol, like could have looked worse? And I think the answer is yes. And I think like for the Teeny thing, I think we're meant to root for Teeny. I think that's clear. Whether or not Teeny's being protected because they're because of that or because they're a winner, to be determined. But I think it's really telling when things are like framed in a way where, okay, they could have easily clowned on that person way more. But as we saw with Gabler, sometimes being clowned on isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. And like Teeny obviously has a great social game, and she said herself, like, I'm going to, like, something I'm really good at is, talking my way out of things like this. But then they immediately cut to Rome, who's like, well, now I just learned that I can't trust Teeny. So we'll see how that plays out for her. I don't know.
I agree. And like, that wasn't a good that wasn't amazing from Rome or whatever, but I agree with Christine, because that's what I thought too, where I was like, well, clearly Teeny didn't talk their way out of this. But like I do feel like what Christine's saying is like they could have made the Rome confession, they could make that so much worse, where he's like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure if they had all that where he's like that kind of stuff, but all they showed us him being like, I don't know if I can trust Teeny as much or whatever. So it could be a lot worse, but I agree, it's sort of like not amazing.
It's not a plus, but it's not like disqualifying necessarily.
Right. I do
what do we
feel like
think of
Sam is still like number one, where it's just kind of like we're really seeing this guy a lot, and all we're knowing about him is how incredible he is at Survivor, and everything's going his way, and he's the paragon of Survivor success.
I feel like with him, what's like interesting to me is that he's kind of like not following through with the storyline that he set up for himself, which was like being the like glue guy, or like the guy that people like wouldn't see coming. Like he's very like, Annika is already calling out that like Sam is like someone who's super threatening. I just think it's like too much too soon for Sam. Maybe that's just me like not wanting a man to win, but it's just like that's a lot. But again, it's been like the last well, Jam Jam was her last male winner, so it's like I don't know. And Sam is like such a version, like such a Survivor player that we haven't seen win in like a couple seasons. So it's like maybe this is what they're gonna do, is just like the coronation, like Sam is the best Survivor player to ever live situation. That could be it. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like usually if you're painted out this early as like making all these moves this early in the game, it doesn't typically pan out.
Because then it's like, where's the tension of the story if like I know Sam is like clearly the best person on the island? Like that's not compelling to watch. I feel like I'm still scared for Rachel, because like they keep saying like Andy being in the game is scary and bad, and like you don't want that. So that's scary for her as my winner pick. But I feel good about Sierra, honestly. Sierra's like kind of quiet, but she's like clearly in close with Sam, who's like this big player. So I feel good about Sierra of anyone on Yellow, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where her true loyalty lies, because who knows, maybe she's completely playing Sam, or I don't know, maybe she's completely playing the girls and does want to stick with Sam. She's kind of in a powerful position.
Yeah, which speaking of which, that's why I really like Tiana's episode, because she was presented as like, I'm the swing vote here. And it was presented as like we wanted her to like flip on TK. Like TK is presented like very negatively, like I can't believe he was saying all this stuff. And so it's like you're supposed to be happy for Tiana that she like made this decision, and she's presented as someone who has a lot of like strategic agency in the game, and someone we should like be excited for. So I feel honestly, I feel like Tiana might be my number one right now.
It also like her decision played into like the themes that we've been like seeing so far in the show. Like she's centered in like the choice between social and strategic, and I feel like unlike usually, or I feel like survivors typically like always go with the strategic decision, like don't follow your emotions at all. Like I feel like this season so far has been about like listening to your heart and like doing what's right for you as like a person, rather than necessarily the best game move. And I feel like she was in line with that, where she was feeling uncomfortable with her relationship with TK and took him out.
Yep. So love that for her. Yeah. Anyone else who's like really standing out to us, or anyone who, I mean, I feel like we can eliminate like Saul. Feel good about
Genevieve.
Genevieve.
I don't know anything. Yeah. I love Sue.
Yeah.
I want her to make it far.
I mean, it's like she's presented as someone with a lot of agency, like just like Tiana, where it's like she's calling shots and like she got her way this episode.
Yeah.
So I could see it for Sue too, especially it's like I feel like with these older like people of her sort of like archetype, I guess you would call it, on the show, I feel like aren't usually presented in this way. Like we wouldn't be hearing from her, or she would be like, I don't know, presented a little more negatively, but it's like we're supposed to root for her. We're supposed to like be on her side when like people are being annoying to her. So I feel like that's good for her.
Yeah, she's definitely been given that edit of like you want to root for Sue.
Yeah, I think Sue's definitely a contender. I think it's like for me. It's like I know every season we're like older woman. Like
It's
this
happening.
is it. This is the year, and I feel like so many like it's hard. It's one of the things that's like hard to like. It's like more like it's hard to see it actually happening because it's been so long since an older woman, quote unquote, has won Survivor. But I do think
and because we see it every season, we
see it every season. But like,
but it does.
It's her.
A little different, where it's like they are like she is at least one of the main characters, and is like we're seeing a lot of her relationships from her perspective, and even the Tiana flip is like framed through her, where she's like noting that Tiana's like annoyed with TK. We had that conversation on the beach where like TK and Kyle, I think, wouldn't stop talking while Tiana and Sue were trying to nap.
Oh my god, I was getting annoyed for them.
Yeah, I know. I just so many different conversations.
It was so funny. I kept noticing TK kept saying like bro over and over, just like specifically only in that scene though. I was like, since when does he say this word so much? It was very funny.
Also, okay, sorry, this is totally random, but one more thing that I was so impressed with was it Gabe that got up in the middle of the night about the B-word advantage, or no?
It was
Andy. Andy did, and I think Rome did, because Rome wasn't able to read it. And then Rome and Teeny.
Yeah.
The people that get up in the middle of the night to do this, it is fucking pitch black out there. And like, I don't get how they do that, because when you're out there, we would watch the sunset. We were on the same island as Tuku. And when the sun is setting and it's getting dark out, you better have gone pee. You better have refilled your water bottle. Like, you better have your comfy warm clothes on. And like, you're heading back to camp before the sun is officially set, because you can't see shit out there. And so for them being able to like get up, because no one's sleeping either. So it's like, you can tell when someone gets up and is like walking around and you're like, what the fuck? But like the fact that multiple people this season so far have done that, I'm just like, how did you even do that? You can't see, like, how'd you pull that off?
Right. Well, because it's like the cameras aren't going to have any lights on, are they? Like, it's purely
night
vision?
Like the night, the cameras are night vision. And I remember like the night camera had like one red light. And I actually found that out on the first night that I was there, because I like looked over my left shoulder and I saw this like light literally.
Ew, that's so scary.
But yeah, they don't provide any light, so I don't know how they did that. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Or why? Because like he went and then they weren't even able to read the note, obviously, because there's no light.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, okay, great, it's here. Okay, I'll just come back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I know. So yeah, very brave of them. Maybe that's the new Survivor meta, is go everywhere at nighttime. I don't know. I would just be scared of like stepping on a snake or like a spider. Ugh, that's like what scares me the most about the idea of being on the show, is like a spider crawling on me at night. Like, I can't handle that. Yeah, you knew what was up. You're like, that spider's looking at me. It's ready to crawl on me at any moment.
No, another like creepy thing out there is at night, at least on our island, there were these indigenous birds that were like nocturnal birds on that island that literally sounded like crying babies. And so after the first night or two, my tribe, we were asking the crew, we were like, what is that sound? Like, it sounds like a crying baby, but we're stranded on an island, like there aren't babies out here. And they're like, oh yeah, they're these nocturnal birds that are indigenous to this island. It's really creepy.
That's what they want you to think.
I know.
Scary.
How do you think Jeff has looked young for so long?
I was just gonna say.
Oh my god.
Look up adrenochrome. I'm sure Sue knows all about that.
Oh my god. That's so scary. Yeah, I mean, that's like Hunger Games shit right there. The fucking like, what are the Mockingjays? Yes.
I don't know, but I think
Jackers or something.
I think Omer told us what bird it was.
Of course. That's the Jeff Probst baby sacrifice bird of Fiji. My God. Any other eduky thoughts you want to get out there? Any fun things you want to talk about before we sail off into the wild blue yonder? No. Well, Justine,
No.
thank you so much for coming on. This was such a blast. We've been
Thanks for having me.
looking to get the
Are we the
queen.
first podcast you've
This is the
done?
first podcast I've ever done.
What? That is wild to me.
You were a
These people-
natural.
These people don't know what they're missing.
The monotone was perfect.
Yeah, how monotone was that?
Can we get more levels, please? That's just wild to me that they would say that. Like, we've had so many people who just like are actually monotone. I just don't, and I also don't find that like unappealing as like a listener of the voice. Like, I think that's so fun.
Yeah, if only they had just liked me for me.
Yeah. I know. Casting is the toxic boyfriend for sure.
Yeah. Stop trying to make me someone that I'm not.
Yeah. Love Justine for Justine. Well, we had so much fun with you, Justine, and I hope everyone
was
had fun
fun.
listening.